Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to Thursday night. This is going to be a rather different Haze Hour. It's kind of the Haze Hour does VT talk, and you will notice that there's rather more than three of us. There's actually five. There's five. On my right, as per usual, we have Daz. On my left, we have Keith.
Hi.
Over my shoulder, we have Dave Kitson. Hi, Dave.
Hiya, Dave.
And hiding, but not for very much longer, because I'm going to bring her onto screen as soon as I possibly can, which might not be as soon as I thought it was. We have the effervescent loveliness that is Sav in a full screen all by herself. Hi, Sav.
Hello.
Yes, so it's going to be a strange one. The reason that Sav is not in the virtual screen is because if I put her in the virtual screen... Yeah, so we're not doing that because that would just be wrong. That would be Sav putting e-cigs in our top pocket. That can't be right. That can't be right. So tonight it's VT Talk does the Haze Hour, or the Haze Hour does VT Talk, but we're going to run with the Haze Hour titles. We'll be back right after this. Yes, no wobbly wobblies I've muted before we came back.
Yes.
Which is always good. Keith's been sitting there, you're watching that bit from the EU, you were enjoying that, weren't you?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Yes, I've been making a few notes as we went along, but what I've done, thanks to Dave Kitson, who, his PC actually, yeah, yours, your PC can actually record footage from the EU.
It did today, yes. It was in the mood.
Well, that's good because my Mac apparently is never in the mood, any of them. What we're getting is the Tower of Babel with it's just all voices that come at you on the Mac. Can't make a thing out. This is the EU looking after everybody, of course, equality across the EU.
Absolutely. We just hear a million voices of every single nationality.
That's right.
You could just get a decent computer, of course.
I have, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 of them here.
If we're getting on so well, Dave, we were.
We were. It's true enough. You see, I suppose I could always cut you off, but I won't do that. So yes, EU. It's all about the EU, and I think what we'll probably do if we cut the highlights out. Dave sent me the file, and what I've done is I've cut out as much as I can find about e-cigs, so that it's all in one place. And you can hear, yes, there are a few changes, but well, make of it what you will. This runs around about 8 minutes. I'm going to say enjoy, but before, just make sure you've got plenty liquid in your e-cig.
Fifth area, nicotine-containing products, electronic cigarettes. We propose to subject nicotine-containing products, electronic cigarettes, to pharmaceutical legislation.
E-cigarettes. These are new on the market since the last directive, of course, since 2001. The Commission has made its proposal, which would mean that most e-cigarettes would have to be authorised as medicines. I've asked the European Parliament to pull together a study on all the evidence on this. And so, again, my inclination is that we do need to regulate e-cigarettes. Many public health officials think they can be useful for people to reduce the amount of smoking cigarettes, but they must be of at least quality standards. We've had 9 RAPEX alerts about e-cigarettes in the last year. We had some where there was no nicotine in the product at all. somewhere there was more nicotine than there should be. So the United States is currently developing its own laws on e-cigarettes at the moment. So we do need to regulate e-cigarettes, and again, I look forward to hearing from colleagues.
I don't want to say too much on e-cigarettes at the moment. There are convincing arguments on both sides. I need some time to think about that and see what's important.
Electronic cigarettes, a very important point, which we didn't talk about 10 years ago at all, and now we need to. They didn't exist then. So you can see industry is being highly innovative here. But I would like the Commission to be severe when it drafts its Article 18. It's very important that we ensure the health of dosages, but at the same time we have to be in sync with reality. So perhaps I can look further at the question of thresholds. I'm concluding, Chairman. I think it's vital here and now that we in fact are in sync with reality, and in particular that we do prevent a situation where over the long term, the industry actually manages to sell more electronic cigarettes to young people, which is something that we should be preventing. Not everything is covered here. I think the basics are, though, and I'll stop there now. Thank you.
Satu Hassi.
Now, I've received emails from lobbyists for e-cigarettes. In this area, I think it's very important to strike a balance. E-cigarettes should be used as a support to stop smoking, but e-cigarettes shouldn't be used as a new channel to develop an addiction to nicotine, especially among young people. So I think that there should be a limit on the amount of nicotine, and if it goes over, it should be a medical product.
In relation to the nicotine-containing products such as e-cigarettes, there is evidence in the UK from the National Institute of Clinical Excellence and from ASH, which is an anti-smoking charity, that they can act as a form of harm reduction. I think they clearly do need to be regulated, but I'm not sure if going a whole hog for a pharmaceutical marketing authorization is the best way forward. We need to make sure that they are not attractive to non-smokers and that we do not renormalise smoking. So we could perhaps look at restrictions on advertising and promotion, and perhaps member states might want to ban them in public places as cigarettes are banned. And I would also like to see minimum age restrictions for these nicotine-containing products in line with the member states' restrictions for tobacco, and perhaps warnings, something like may damage your health, because right now we are not sure about that. Thank you.
E-cigarettes, the European Commission should say, well, there should be scientific studies that should frame this type of product in a better way. In some member states, this is considered as cigarettes, and in other member states, they're considered as a medical device. And so we need to have more information.
Karl-Heinz Florenz mentioned e-cigarettes and these steam apparatus. Here we're talking about a tobacco product directive. I'm not sure whether the product is properly categorized in this directive. Perhaps the Commission can say something about this. I heard in recent weeks that many ex-smokers are in this category rather than young people. The tobacco industry obviously has a massive interest in this product being removed from the market as quickly as possible. I mean, is it a product ban, question to the Commission, or is it going to be a product ban? It's not really clear to me, but Linda said that there's going to be a study commissioned, and I think many colleagues are saying the same thing. It's about a commercial interest, but there are questions surrounding this. So it was a very good debate.
Electronic cigarettes, I think a point that was made by many colleagues. Why is this under the Tobacco Products Directive? Well, the nicotine in the electronic cigarettes is gained from tobacco. It is a substitution product for tobacco. So we feel that actually it belongs into this directive. There are currently a lot of safety concerns. That's why we need to act. Linda McEvan has pointed to the RAPEX alerts, and this is really a big concern. Children could die if they drink the cartridge of the nicotine. The real problem with electronic cigarettes is that maybe in the past it was a means that was only taken by established smokers who wanted to get rid of it. But nowadays we see a trend that this develops into a lifestyle product, and that is a big problem. You're probably all aware of the Hungarian study. In May 2012, 13 to 15% of the Hungarian youngsters have used electronic cigarettes, many of those non-smokers. The substance nicotine is addictive, and they would also become addictive and then maybe switch to from electronic cigarettes to real cigarettes, which would be devastating. A similar study in Poland says 20% of the Polish youngsters have experimented with electronic cigarettes. A last point, we do not want to see electronic cigarettes disappearing from the market. To the contrary, if this is an effective means to regulate, to help smokers to get away from smoking, well, we should support that. But we just feel it should be under a regulated and safe environment. And the safe environment, an established regulatory framework for us, is the pharma legislation. This would also ensure a level playing field for the nicotine replacement therapies. They have to undergo pharmaceutical authorizations. It's just a question of administering the product, how you get the nicotine. That's the only difference between an electronic cigarette, a spray, and a patch.
Thank you, colleagues. For most people seem to be supporting the legislation. There are some questions we need to resolve. I can see that the e-cigarettes, we need a thorough debate, and we need to hear experts, because we want to get the right kind of regulation on these products. We have our study, so maybe we should organise, maybe I'll organise a workshop or something for colleagues to come on the e-cigarettes.
Well, there you go. That's kind of the edited highlights of the whole hour and 10 minutes that we played out before the show started, and which again we'll do our best to make available via our Facebook pages, Google Plus, anywhere and everywhere that we can get it, and links to it if you want to watch it on the EU website. Not if you're a Mac user. Not going to happen. Don't worry about it. Or iPad, or anything else. Only on PCs, because obviously the EU is very PC. It worries the hell out of me. So, Keith, you were sitting watching that. What have you made of what you have seen so far?
Lost for words. A set of anonymous bureaucrats.
They're elected representatives.
Well, and how many of us know that? Elected representatives.
Yes.
How many people can name their MEP? You've got Europe in crisis, countries going bankrupt, banks shut, and they're sitting there talking about this. I just think it's appalling. It's a matter for member states to decide these issues as member states, as individual states. You know, who do they think they are?
So you vote UKIP then?
Well, you know, that would be a protest vote till the other parties put their houses in order.
Yes, I'm being asked if you can speak up a little bit, Keith.
Right.
You're a tad quiet.
Right.
I'm loud.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. But it
no,
makes people listen
I
more.
don't think that is an issue they should be debating.
I would agree with you, but unfortunately we're stuck with the situation where they are.
Well, we are, and at the end of the day there's very little we can do about that.
Well, we can shout up, we can make our voices heard, we can speak to our MEPs.
I'm sure we can, but I mean, is that going to have any effect?
One can but hope. Daz, what do you make of it all?
Well, we've got I think that we've got no choice, but it's more important than ever that we've been speaking about talking to MEPs and following on from yesterday, and saying that, you know, a lot of the organisations that I'm losing a lot of confidence in rapidly, it's all the more important now. I mean, for instance, as you knew, I was meant to meet up with my MEP.
Mm-hmm.
Very sadly, and I'm really, really angry about it actually, what's happened is my MP wrote back to me with the reply from a generic reply from Anna Soubry, and did not, as promised, arrange a meeting. So I've now wrote back to the MP and said, I'm really disheartened because I've got a story to tell you, and I feel really, really strongly about it, and I'm not satisfied with the response, and I'd love to hear back from you. You know, to follow that on. And there's a point, the point that I suppose I'm making is, and that I'm seeing a lot of it with other people is that they're saying that MEPs are not replying, but you can't leave it there. You've got to go back from them. And I know that you mentioned this last night, Dave, is saying at the end of the letter, I look forward to hearing from you, because you're asking them and they have to reply.
Yes.
They've got to reply, and if they don't, you've got to keep hounding them. You've got to do it, because if you don't, it will go whatever way that they want.
That's the worrying part. If we do nothing, it will all end up in tears, certainly for us. Dave, what's your take on the whole thing? I mean, I know you've watched it. You must have watched this through about 6 times now, cutting various different bits and bobs out of it.
Actually not. I've probably spent more time editing down the INCO meeting than I have done watching the Envy meeting, but I've seen it through a couple of times anyway. I watched it live, and I watched it, the vast majority of it, just before the show went out just now. The first thing is I'm thinking of starting the Glenys Wilmot fan club, if anybody's interested.
I don't think you'll get many takers.
Well, funnily enough, guess whose constituency she represents?
Oh, let me guess. Would that be yours by any chance?
I'm embarrassed to say yes, because, you know, most of the other guys from this region, I guess, I don't know, some sense of balance or something. Some of them have got common sense, and then we've got Glenys by the looks of things. That really wound me up, because if a newspaper came out with the stuff that she was spouting today, we've got the Press Complaints Commission, we've got avenues that we can go and say, what she is saying has no substance, it's factually incorrect, retract it.
Yes.
But he happens to be doing it on a different medium in the EU Parliament. We don't seem to have that recourse, and there's something fundamentally wrong there, because she just sat there and spouted, and excuse my French, bollocks for an entire minute and a half that she was given, and it really, really wound me up. I've been laughing about it since.
Well,
back again to the word I used, accountability.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Let me use some of the phrases that Glenys Wilmot used. She said, e-cigs should only be used to quit smoking altogether, to become nicotine abstinent, and e-cigarettes normalise smoking, and the whole notion of e-cigarettes is full of loopholes, and those loopholes need to be closed. That's Glenys Wilmot. So what I'm here to say is, if you're in the same European constituency as Dave Kitson is, you've got direct access to her, but because she's on the Envy Committee, if you look at their webpage, invites people to share their feelings. I suggest that would be a damn good idea, and they even give you the email addresses for them. So Glenys Wilmot, let her know. Go on, Dave.
Do let her know, right? I do not think for 1 minute that somebody that rabid is going to be affected by our opinions. But I just want to waste her time reading my letter, if that's all it is, because she pissed me off. That's it.
You're a little bit annoyed then, Dave?
Just a little bit. She didn't even have a local accent, for God's sake.
That's most upsetting. At least I can say about Martin Callanan, he does have a Newcastle accent. It's a refined Newcastle accent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, aye. Mm-hmm. He stops short of saying how and the nas, but he occasionally, you just hear diz comes out instead of does.
Oh yeah, you can tell where Martin comes from.
Yes, it's just in there. Sav, you've been sat there very, very quiet and not appearing on screen, and we can't have the effervescent loveliness that is Sav not appearing on screen. So what's chat saying? And keep it clean, for God's sake.
Oh, I'll leave that to you to not keep it clean. Right, I'll go through what we've just had recently. Very boring has said, regarding gathering evidence, that could take quite a while if they truly mean all evidence. Mm-hmm. Gary Wood said, we need to regulate the Muppets that get elected. Mark Shaw said, "The thing you're not getting here is that many of them spoke with conviction regarding tobacco, but chose their words carefully when it came to e-cigs." Moonlit has said, "I started smoking cigarettes as a kid, and as an intelligent and educated adult, I choose to use e-cigs as a form of harm reduction, which also happens to be more pleasant. Tell me exactly how e-cigs are bad for me as a young person in that scenario." Vaporman says, "Ban e-cigs in public places and we're out with the smokers again. What a great idea." Not. Gary Wood again said, "They know nothing about e-cigs in my opinion. They need to concentrate and do research before they talk out of their bottoms."
Are you sure he said bottoms?
No, he did not say bottoms.
Okay.
Big Craig has said, "Why don't they differ e-cigs from tobacco? Those two words shouldn't even be in the same sentence. They keep saying it over and over again. I wonder why that is. They are trying to make them sound the same. I wonder why that is as well." Midge Dog says, "I'm only concerned about the safety issues of having to go back to cigarettes if these uninformed idiots get their way." Tracy Collins has said, "Before worrying about the children and nicotine, you think they'd be more concerned about giving the children a future to live for. The EU is a mess." Moonlit has said, "If this is an effective means, let's make it more expensive, horrible tasting and more difficult to get hold of!" Exclamation mark. Vaporman says, "They're treating us like kids. We're adults, for goodness sake." And Sam Monroe said, "A lot of smokers are put off from vaping by vapors becoming holier than thou, a new breed of anti-smoker."
Yes, indeed. That new breed of anti-smoker, I have to admit, does do my napper in, for the very simple reason that 3 of my closest friends are what you would call dual fuelers in this e-cig world of ours. And I find it quite insulting when some of these, what we're going to call them, nouveau ex-smokers. There's no worse than a reformed smoker.
They are reformed smokers, that's what they are. They happen to be vaping instead of abstaining now, but they're what used to wind us all up when we smoked. And there are a few people out there. And, you know, I've commented on it in the past. I find it a little bit hypocritical telling somebody they shouldn't be smoking.
I would agree. I absolutely would agree. But let's not stray too far down that path at the minute. In fact, let's take a bunch of adverts and I'll try and sort Keith's volume out. Would you just do a quick 1 2 1 2 1 2
1 2 1 2 1 2?
Is that better for everybody? We'll see what chat comes up with. We'll take a quick blast of adverts and when we come back we'll carry this on. I've picked a few highlights out of this. Some quotes that I think might get people's blood boiling, but I hope it's also going to get them acting. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Safer Cigs, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
iVapour and iVapour Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's iVapour.co.uk and iVapour-elixir.co.uk. iVapour and iVapour-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of VapourTrails.tv. Safer Cigs, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
And we're back in the room. Welcome back to Here's How It Does VT Talk. It's kind of a comic relief thing. One thing we do need to say, I think, before we go any further, is that what we've seen from today strikes me as being a lot more optimistic than what we saw yesterday. I think there is room for manoeuvre. For instance, and I pulled a couple of quotes out here. Rebecca Taylor, for instance, seems to be quite... She's not sure about them. She needs more information on them. She's got one or two mistaken ideas. But I know I've been communicating with her via Twitter and throwing links at her, and she seems to be listening. She's going the right way, and she was definitely looking to get shot of them earlier on. When you've got a member, the rapporteurs, it confuses me the way the EU works, but when you've got a rapporteur saying to MEPs in the committee, you're going to get a lot of lobbying. That kind of says they know that we're going to be talking to them, that we're going to be emailing them, because apparently that's what the lobbyists are. We are lobbyists, you and me and everybody that's writing to MEPs.
Did you, Dave, think she was going to finish that sentence, though, when she said it? Did you think she was going to finish it with, so just take no notice?
Yes, I've got to be honest.
It's slow, wouldn't it? You know, you're going to get a lot of lobbying, just ignore it.
But, well, hang on a minute, because... Right, you know, when she was summing up at the end, and I know we didn't play this in the edited highlights, at least I don't think we did, but she actually said, I wish I could do her accent, but I can't, let's not listen to the lobbyists. That's what she said. So in her introduction, you're going to get a lot of lobbying, too right she is, everybody should be lobbying like mad, we should all be writing, and then at the end she said, let's not listen to the lobbyists. Now you've got to ask yourself the question, why would a rapporteur advise the people on the committee not to listen to the information that they're being given? Have you got any idea on that one, Keith?
It doesn't surprise me in the least. Not in the least. You know, we're talking about lobbying MEPs. The best way of getting some publicity on the issue is to try and find a pathway into the media, particularly the right-wing press, using the EU.
Right, you're too loud now, apparently.
Right. Right. I'll whisper now.
Just a minute. I'll put that down there. Now, Clive.
Right. I mean, that's the way to deal with it. You're not going to get anywhere. I'm sorry.
I seriously think, I honestly do think that if we make our voices heard, if we fill the MEPs' inboxes with, and I don't mean, we heard one of them in that little kind of edited highlights saying that she'd had abuse. She tweeted from a meeting, and she'd had abuse. We've got to be careful not to be abusive to them, but we do need to be firm and say, look, this is the situation. Here's where I was. Here's where I am now, here's why I'm where I am now, and here's why I expect to put another 5, 10, 15 years on my life. Because experts like, and then you're looking at John Britton, you're looking at Murray Laugerson, you're looking at Carl Phillips, you're looking at Michael Siegel, and a whole host of others. Just look on the ASH website, it'll give you the names of all these people that are signing up to harm reduction. Jerry Stimson, all of these people that we keep talking about time after time. They're all telling us the same thing, and point them at these eminent experts, people that do know what they're talking about, and saying this is why, this is what you should be listening to, because these folks are truly independent. Point them at Clive Bates. Let's face it, the guy was the big wig at ASH.
Yeah.
There was nobody bigger at ASH than Clive Bates, and look where he stands on it now.
I mean, I suppose in a way, one of the other things that I picked up when I've been watching it is, and this goes out to all the viewers, is you probably know a lot, you definitely know 100% more about vaping than probably most of the people in that room.
All of the people in that room.
Yeah, and so who better to educate them than us? And that's why it's so important that we try, and like you said before about with the emails and everything, about putting our story across, because one of the things that I seem to pick up about with the MEPs in this thing in the EU is that they beat around the bush. You know, it's all this and that, and there's nothing direct. There's nothing direct. whereas like us, you know, in putting your story across and being blunt, you know, being blunt and saying, this is where I was, this is where I am, this is what I want to happen, you know, and this is why I want it to happen. And just being direct, you know, and trying to get the story out there.
Look, this is a European institution. It's not your local council. It's not your local MP. These people are impervious to persuasion. They're too remote from it.
I'm not sure I agree with you, Keith. I'm not sure I agree with you, because when we looked at the very first of these meetings, it was all very much ban it, ban the lot, kill them all, take them out and hang them. That was very much what we got. What we've seen certainly over today has been a lot more, I'm not going to say conciliatory, but certainly there's a lot more thought going in. You know, the
movement, hasn't
there? There's been movement in the right direction. The hairy guy with the woman's voice, I don't know who he was, he's one of the Chateau rapporteurs, was saying on the e-cigs thing, I don't know enough. I don't know whether I'm for or against. I need to go and make my mind up.
Exactly.
Now, a week, fortnight, 3 weeks ago, what we got was, ban them, take them off the market. And they were all of a mind with that. Now we're seeing, even Linda McCavan is saying, we actually need to do a study on this. And
that's the key for me. She's why I feel a little bit better this evening than I did yesterday. And I'm not confident, I'm not comfortable with where we're at. There's, you know, you can't tell looking around the chamber and listening to that thing today who's going to vote in which direction. You know, you couldn't get a sense for it. But at least today, the most significant thing for me was to hear Linda McCavan say, we are going to do more studies. Going to find out more about it. But that's the first concession that we've seen to e-cigs.
Yeah, I was just going to add there, I really hope, and you know, in with writing to the MEPs, is one of the things that I point out, whether they do it or not, but I would love it, and I would actively volunteer in with these studies, that they use people who've been vaping for a considerable length of time, and I would be the first one to put my hand up.
Yeah,
and say,
don't mistake this for actually putting people in a room and trying e-cigs.
No.
What that study is going to be, it's their policy committee, their policy study group, is going to just bring together all of the documentation on it. They're going to bring together all the paperwork. And then
she described it as, she said she might organise a workshop or something. My sort of daily email to Linda McCavan tomorrow is going to point out that if it's a workshop, it needs to be a big workshop.
Yeah.
And that I want to hear my view.
Yeah.
I think many people should do that. McCavan is approachable.
She is.
You are entitled to email her.
You are.
And say, hey, listen. I don't want. I watched the session yesterday, and I thought what I was witnessing was a fair amount of lip service. In fact, I think at that point, it was. It was a situation that was set up so that the Envy Committee could say, we've consulted the industry, but they weren't actually going to take any notice of what they wanted. We don't want this workshop thing to be that.
No, not at all.
So, you know, I mean, so I'll be emailing her tomorrow saying, how's this workshop work? How do we get our point of view into, you know, what you need?
I'll be following and doing exactly the same, Dave. Exactly the same.
Indeed, yes. I mean, it would be daft not to, he said, getting completely mixed up with buttons and cameras and stuff. I'm sorry, it does get me goat a bit. Can
I just put a comment that I just happened to spot in chat?
You can.
You're saying bottom up is the way to go with this, by which I presume he means from your MEP up. Yeah, we've got to go with it that way, and we've got to go with it from Linda McCavan down, and we've got to go for it for every contact that we can get, and anybody whose ear we can get. You know, there is probably no best way. Do it all the ways. That's what I'm intending to do.
Yes. Well, while we're talking about what's being said in chat, I think we'd probably better throw it across to Sav again, because again I can see the eyes are going like that. So, Sav, my dear, what you got?
Right, first of all, I'll go with the stuff that I picked up earlier, which was regarding Linda McCavan, and there was quite a lot of people that said the same things, that yes, her language does seem to have changed slightly from yesterday. Mark MG Jones has said, if they're saying they need studies, then they can't legislate till they do them, surely. To which Very Boring replied, I suspect they can still bring in the directive as is and then use the argument they can bring in amendments later if studies show e-cigs are not the concern they thought. But his own words, he says he's very untrusting. And then I'll go to the stuff that, scroll down these million pages, to the stuff we've had recently. Gary Wood has said, if these idiots carry on, we will all be living in onesies with padded houses living on lentils. And he then went on to add, basically they don't care and they don't care what anybody else thinks either. Sam Monroe said, correct information gets in the way of bureaucracy. Vaporman says, MEPs are God and the rest of us are scum of the earth, that's what they think. Tracy Collins has said, there's a very fine line between education and propaganda, it's an information war. And Sooty has said, this is just another example of how seriously us Joe public are being treated or ignored. We are drip by drip being dumbed down just to roll over and expect all the control and rubbish thrown at us. As we are not allowed to think for ourselves, Big Brother will do that for us.
Well, absolutely, yes. I mean, I've been saying it for long enough, but, you know, unfortunately not too many people listen, which is a great shame. But yeah, I mean, the word sheeple gets used quite a lot in various different places, and you see an awful lot of that going on. Keith, your thoughts on where we're at with? I know.
Well, those last few comments from chat sum my view up. I mean, really, there's nothing more to be said as far as I'm concerned.
That's it.
Yeah, you know, I've given my view.
Yes.
I don't think this will work, and I'd be pleasantly surprised if it did. Because these people will just make their own minds up, and that'll be it.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Hence what I'm saying about the press.
Yes.
Some route into the press.
I think in a way though with the press, given is if we were to go down that route, you would have to tread so carefully because of we've got so much going on with the EU, and given the fact of that stupid article a couple of months back where everybody complained to the PCC. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we start seeing more of these articles anyway, and there may be more complaints of the PCC or not, I don't know. But the reason why I'm saying about treading carefully is because if it's gone the wrong way, it doesn't help the cause. Do you see what I mean?
No, I don't know whether you were suggesting that writing letters to the press. That wasn't what I was meaning.
Right.
I was meaning feeding stuff into the press that they can use for their own articles.
There was actually a piece taken up, as was adequately demonstrated last night. Football and I are not on the same level.
I know that.
We know this to be true. But I just happened to come across a piece from tobacco.org. It's a wonderful source. In the Manchester City Supporters magazine, or something along those lines, where did you see it? Apparently, somebody got ejected from Man City's ground for chuffing on. Banned, yeah. He's had his
revoked.
That's the word. Right. The season ticket's been revoked, and he's been told that if he wants to object or appeal, it has to be in writing, and he's got to put a bloody good reason together why he can have his season ticket back. Now, somebody, somewhere, needs to take the people at Man City to one side and say, oi, just a minute. One, you're outdoors. Actually, I know there's a wall around the pitch.
Yeah, you see, when they brought in the smoking ban, football stadiums were specifically named, even though they're not like free walls sometimes and what have you. They were specifically named as areas where smoking should be excluded. Not that it's relevant because it's not smoking.
Well, you know, quite. But I mean, the bottom line on it is you've got numpties like that. But again, that's something that can be highlighted to the press. We just need to get enough influential columnists together to pick that kind of thing up.
As I said, finding a pathway, a route into the press. And, you know, this is the sort of thing that I would imagine that newspapers like, for example, the Mail and the Express would jump on it as an anti-European bandwagon. That's what I'm saying.
Now you see, there you go, the anti-European slant. Right, okay. Say again, Dave?
He's devious, isn't he, Keith?
Oh, you've got no idea. You've got no idea how devious he can be. Seriously,
No.
he gets his mods for now.
You see, that would get big publicity.
It would as well.
God forbid we could have a consumer association promoting things like that and driving them.
That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Yes.
Why nobody thought of that?
I wonder why. I wonder why. But that's brought us up to the second lot of adverts. Do you think we should have a look at Matthew Wright and the Right Stuff in the third half? Would that be a good idea?
Right.
We'll do that if I can get the damn thing to load. We'll be back in 2 minutes. I would recharge your batteries and your atomizers if I were you, because when we come back you might have some fun. Mind you, having said that, the young lady that comes on first that used them, I want everybody to give her a score out of 10. And no comments from you, Dave.
I say nothing.
Pardon?
We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Safer 6, sponsors of the Haze Hour. Safer 6, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
And we are back in the room. Welcome back to the Haze Hour Does VT Talk here on the 21st of March, the day when the EU took a slight upturn in terms of how it was treating e-cigs. However, a couple of days ago,
You know, I'm just marvelling at your optimism. You know, being a pretty cynical guy.
it was a slight upturn. A slight upturn.
Right.
That's a bit like Cheryl Cole acknowledging you're in the room when there's 50,000 other people there.
Right.
And 25 of them are much better looking blokes than you. That's the level of optimism I've got.
Right.
Right? There's by no means is it cut and dried, but I still think when you have got a rapporteur saying, let's not listen to the lobbyists, she's worried about lobbyists where we are the lobbyists. That's what's worrying her.
Yes. But you've got to look at the whole, the organisation you're dealing with.
Oh, it's the EU, I know.
Yes.
But that could implode yet.
It might.
And you never know, the MHRA might overrule them. And I might have something more on that next week. But never mind. Never mind. Ed West's just said it's a big change from yesterday for DD. Like I said, what I'm talking about is minuscule. I'm slightly more optimistic. I'm not confident. Exactly the same as Dave isn't confident. I'm not confident, but I'm slightly more optimistic in exactly the way as I would be, as I say, that Cheryl Cole...
Feels like we've kind of got a foot in the door, doesn't it? Now we've got to kick it in.
Yes, Yes, pretty much. That's exactly the case. We've got the foot in the door, shoulder onto it, and let's get going. Anyway, let's leave the EU to one side for the moment, and go to London and see what Mr. Matthew Wright had to do in. Oh, it must have been about 6 minutes on. When was it? Monday.
Yeah.
Monday. Yes, like I said, charge your gear up, enjoy. There you are, that blonde bombshell doing a dissertation for a degree, and she can't do the maths on nicotine.
No.
Honestly, seriously. I was well pleased with Anne Diamond, though.
Oh, Anne Diamond ranks highly in my opinion.
Why am I not surprised?
Very much so.
Yes. Okay. No, I mean, you know, she gets the idea of harm reduction, which is brilliant. But
Totally got it.
Who's that Scott? I know. I don't know anybody that watches daytime TV. I only tuned in because I was told it was there. I'm seeing Sav shaking her head, so I'm going to put her on the spot. Because you're a Jeremy Kyle fan, aren't you, Sav?
I'm a heck.
Jeremy Kyle.
I did notice, I mean, I've been watching chat while that was playing, and apparently there's a lot of people think that Matthew Wright is a custard.
Yes.
I saw lots of asterisks. He's obviously a custard of some description.
There was a lot of custard.
What else have they been saying then?
Right, Thundercat says, what's so wrong with being addicted to something? Moonlit says, oh, let's pick all the bad tweets so it looks like a universally hated thing. Jill CB says, at least Anne Diamond has some sense. Gillis says, wouldn't you have thought before spouting off poop, he would have made sure he got his facts right?
Did he say poop?
No.
Custard.
Yes, custard. Vaping Viking says, nice one mate, get some guests on who have no idea what they're talking about. Moonlit says, let's play pick the bad words. Phil Emerson says, oh no, the dreaded water vapour. Tracy Collins, this is educational material for the masses. Mark Shaw, I could not believe it was Anne Diamond talking sense. I thought when I saw her it was going to be all think of the children again.
Yeah.
Props to Anne. Fuzzy says they cut him off quick when he started talking sense regarding Lee. And Midge Dog says, Anne actually gets it, and well said Lee.
Well, absolutely and quite. And a big props to Buxton on UKV, for it was he, that was Lee in Wiltshire. Well done and well handled. I thought you handled this, if the vaping police come and take everything away, really, really well. Proper politician's answer. Ignore the question and tell them what you want to tell them. Good lad. Big thumbs up from yours truly.
As far as saying that Lee's bit was the only bit that was actually meaningful and useful in any way whatsoever. Is that fair?
Yeah.
You had Matthew Wright with his slappable face doing that kind of devil's advocate bit badly. I saw somebody make a comment in chat and say, why is the guy always sneering? That's a good question. A couple of sort of no-mark Z-list celebrities who clearly didn't understand a thing about it. And as somebody said, props to Anne Diamond, you know, at least she sort of had her head screwed on and said, what harm is he doing?
Well, I'm just glad I wasn't in the studio with my Bobo.
Well, actually, I think your Bobo was in the studio, but it kind of looked as though Scott was sat on it.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't see it, you know. And yes, Scott with a face like a smacked custard.
And he smacked custard.
Yes, I'm going to use the word custard every time I want to swear now, because it'll just get asterisks. Yes, so with a face like smacked custard and a Bobo up his custard. What a complete custard that man was. But there you go. Oh, Sav, you're laughing. What are you laughing at?
What a pile of custard.
I'm just laughing at chat's reaction to smacked custard.
Right.
They seem to
with
really
a bit more effort,
appreciate
he
that.
could become a real cult.
A real custard, did you say, Dave? Oh, cult. Sorry, I misheard. C-U-L-T. Sorry, I misheard. I thought you said custard. Oh, dear. I tell you what, I'm so pleased with a little bit of a giggle to end tonight's show. Yes. It's a very, very important time in the life of e-cigs. It really is. We're right on the cusp, and when we've got nuggets doing what they did on that show and giving everybody completely the wrong idea about it, people we really have. I'm gonna beg you.
They could look forward to a future career in European politics.
Absolutely, yes. European politicians, or as we know them over here, Custards.
Custards.
Custards. Yes.
Stick that, isn't it?
It absolutely is now. I have decided I like the term. You just wander up to a shop where you've had bad service and say, "You, sir, are a complete and utter custard." Custards to the lot of them, exactly. Sav, last word, you've got 15 seconds.
We're still well and truly stuck on custard, and there's many ways of calling somebody a complete custard as possible.
That's so good. That is so good. People, lovely, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Thanks again to Dave Kitson, over my shoulder, to the effervescent loveliness that is Sav, to Daz, Bobo Man to the masses, and Keith, the most anti-EU Labour voter I've ever come across. What a brilliant fella. It's been a cracking night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget what you need to do. Get onto those MEPs. Get them telt, as we say up here. That's the way to do it. Till we see you next time, from all of us here. Cheery bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Save the Cigs, sponsors of the Haze Hour.